Welcome to Build Your Foundations, our weekly dive into a topic regarding divorce, mediation, finance, or mental health. In the month of July, we've been diving headfirst on the Money Basics series. We have established the ABCs of basic budgeting, setting financial goals such as eliminating debt, and establishing credit. In our final week of the series, we will review another key component of Money Basics: the need for an emergency fund. Recently, I had an initial consultation with the husband who wanted to see if I would be willing to meet with him and his wife to talk through areas where they did not see eye to eye on their household budget and spending habits. He felt very anxious that if the spending kept up at the current pace, there would not be enough money. After asking a few questions, it turned out that every month after bills were paid, there was a deficit of about $1,500. I was honest with him. I let him know that I completely understood his concerns about the household finances. Being $1,500 in the red every month is not a fun place to be, and it is completely valid to feel stress and anxiety. In the ABCs of basic budgeting, we established that B is for be in the black. $1,500 in the red every month adds up pretty quickly. For some of you, this may be your entire month's budget, and this is very scary. But for this gentleman and his family, it turned out that they had an emergency fund to cover them in case something else ever happened. This emergency fund, once I probed a little bit further, was enough to comfortably take care of the family for at minimum 10 months without any other income being generated. The second part of my conversation with him was to have a heart to heart with his wife and to meet her needs first, to set aside the household finances and to be focused on the root cause of the spending, because it was clear that the spending was a message to him because a need in her was not being met by him. And he was feeling like his need to stay in the budget to ease his stress was also not being met, and the reason for why he reached out to our firm. The fact that they have this emergency fund has now given them some room to have some difficult conversations, not about money, but about their unmet needs and how they can work towards meeting each other with love, grace, and care. As they keep the conversation open and the walls down, their marriage is going to find a new hope and a new spark. So, this emergency fund, where do we start? I'm going to be straight with you. If you've not lived within a budget, and if you're not the CEO of your home, thinking about starting an emergency fund, let alone figuring out a budget, may be overwhelming. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and feeling stressed about possibly losing your job, this may not seem like the right thing to do at this exact moment. But we can take one small step and then another to build your emergency fund. Dave Ramsey, in his debt snowball method, encourages people to start with $1,000 in an emergency fund. This, this may seem like too much to some. When you can't even imagine where you can scrape enough pennies together to get $100 in one place, but getting this fund started is possible. I would like to share an easy strategy of how to start your emergency fund. It will take a little bit of effort at first, but once the system is set in place, you don't have to think about it another step. Just let the savings do the things automatically. So, first step, open up a savings account. This may be an online savings account or an account at a bank where you don't normally bank, or a credit card that is in your neighborhood but not convenient enough for you to go to regularly. Do not open the savings account at your regular bank. The purpose of the savings account is to know that it is there for emergencies, but to pretend like it doesn't exist. This account is not for you to have access to unless you really need it for an emergency. If this bank has online access, set up online statements. Once again, You want to pretend like this account does not exist. Also, set up three separate alerts. One alert for when your fund is deposited, second alert for when the funds are taken out. Because unless you have an emergency, no money should be leaving this account. And last alert is when the balance is over $1,000. Before you leave the bank, be sure to get the exact routing and account number for the next step. So, once the savings account is opened with the minimum amount, next step, go to your work's HR payroll department or log into your HR's pay website or online app and set up a direct deposit. You will need the new savings account's routing and account number. You probably already have a direct deposit set up for your entire paycheck to go into your household account, but now we will be splitting this direct deposit. The type of direct deposit you will need to set up is a dollar amount and not a percentage at this point. The amount you set up is up to you. Whether it's $10 per pay period or 100 per pay period, whatever the amount that feels like it may be just slightly too much for you is what you want to start with. Once you set up the direct deposit, allow the savings to have one full month's direct deposit and reassess whether the amount you are putting into the savings account is creating a strain on your budget, if it feels okay about the amount that you have, or if you think that you could put in a little bit more into the savings account. This is where you get to adjust. For now, the goal is to get $1,000 in your emergency savings. Once you reach the $1,000, remember the third alert you set up when you open the account? You will get an email or a text to let you know that you reached the $1,000 goal. Congratulations on reaching the first 1,000 into your emergency fund. Now, it's time to think about the next goal you want to reach. If you're already working with a household budget, you should already know how much each month you require to keep a roof over your head, feed the family, and have a little bit of extra to do something special for yourself. If you need $3,000 to keep your home together, set the next goal and alert to be set at $3,000. Then grow your emergency savings to $6,000 and so on until you've reached 6 months to a year's worth in emergency fund. Even if each step feels like it's taking forever, don't give up. I'll let you in on a secret. Once you set up the initial emergency fund, you may find that creating this cushion starts to become fun and you get to a place where you don't want to ever touch the money you save because you worked so hard to get to this place. Even in an emergency situation, you may find yourself not wanting to touch the money. But when you have an emergency, it's okay to take the money out. And yes, I said when and not if. Everyone has emergencies, whether the car breaks down, you get a flat tire and now you need to replace all the tires, or something happens in the house and insurance doesn't cover it. Emergencies happen, and this is why you have the emergency fund. Just know that once you are able, work towards building the balance up again and don't beat yourself up. You started this fund when you felt like it was impossible, and now look at how far you have come. Trust that you will be able to get back to the replenishing, trust that you will be able to get back to replenishing the money that you had to take out by forgetting that the emergency fund is even there and continuing to allow the savings to automatically do its thing like it has done. Remember the gentleman that I had the initial consultation with? He worked hard to build up his emergency fund, and he knows how hard it is to save this amount. And he too is also at this place where he doesn't want to touch it. And it is very understandable because starting to save is not the easiest thing to do. And once you start saving, You don't want to have to start all over again. But take moments to celebrate the wins and the accomplishments and the goals that you have achieved. At Build Your Foundation, we are here to help you put together a budget, set financial goals, help you work towards getting out of debt, help you on your journey to build your credit history, and even now, to help you set up an emergency fund. Each individual person's money journey is different and should be tailored fit for you as an individual and for your specific needs. Also, if you are considering separation or divorce or have any questions on what we talked about today, please reach out to us and schedule a free consultation. We would love to connect with you. Link and contact info are in the bio. Even if you're not in the state of Washington or in the Seattle area, please contact us. We work with colleagues across the United States who may be able to help you. Also, please share this post or tag someone if it speaks to you personally or if it may benefit someone else. And lastly, if there is a topic you would like to discuss on a future episode, please DM us. Thanks, and see you next week on Build Your Foundation.